Another lonesome Christmas Eve down at the Dewdrop Inn, and I had a few too many, and the world began to spin. I woke up in a jail cell with a big pain in my head, and I looked across at my cellmate, and his suit was worn and red. He looked to me for all the world a man down on his luck. His scraggly beard was white as snow, and his boots were caked with dust. He said the cops had picked him up because he looked a little strange, and he couldn't give an address, and he couldn't prove his name. Besides, he'd looked like an immigrant. His skin was dark and tough. He couldn't even name our president, and then if that weren't enough, seems he didn't even have a family, and his friends lived far away. That old judge fined him $500 or 1 month and a day. His face was old and weathered, but his eyes were bright and quick. He shook my hand and smiled and said, "Friend, you can call me Nick." I'm not what you call generous. In fact, I'm mighty tight. But to kick a man because he's down, well, that system just ain't right. I reached down deep into my boot and I pulled out a big old wad of bills. He said, "I thank you, stranger." And then his smile gave me chills. I sunk back on the bunk then just to get me a little bit of sleep. One more Christmas in jail, I thought. Well, at least the meal was cheap. But sometime short of midnight, that old badge, he began to crow. He told me somebody had sprung me and that I was free to go. Then he handed me an envelope. It was full of everything I owned. And I went home and I hit the hay, and I slept till Christmas morning. Then I opened up that envelope and I saw the strangest sight. There was more greenbacks than I'd ever seen, and with that cash, a note saying, "I had a job to do last night, and you helped me run the race." So picture every dollar here as a smile on some child's face. His face was old and weathered, but his eyes were bright and quick. He shook my hand and smiled and said, "Friend, you can call me Nick." Now, I'm not the type to give advice, and I'm not a man to preach. But when I've learned me a lesson, I think it's mine to teach. Be careful what you're taking, and give what you can give. For all the world, I know for a fact there's no better way to live. His face was old and weathered, but his eyes were bright and quick. He shook my hand and smiled and said, "Friend, you can call me Nick." His face was old and weathered, but his eyes were quick and bright. He said, "Merry Christmas to you all, and to all a good night." Merry Christmas.